My first video, you will find solution to, in this channel you will find solution to some of the trending questions on Leetcode, which are basically daily questions and some of the hard problems on Leetcode. So let's start with today's question. So today's question is the Leetcode 1352 for Leetcode 14 Feb, right? So the question says design an algorithm that accepts a stream of integer and retrieves the product of last k integers of the stream. Right, we have to implement the product number class, in which we have basically one constructor and two method. One is add method and the other one is get product method, right? So basically we are let's understand this problem better. So basically we have two methods. One is add method and the other is get product method, right? So we have to design a data structure, right? We have to design a data structure such that whenever an add method call is made, that number gets added to a stream, and whenever get product for any last k integers is called, we get product of last k elements in the stream. So let's take an example, right? So let's delete all this stuff. Let's take an example, right? So let's say we get a call for add of 1, then we get add of 2, then we get add of 3, then we get add of 4, then we get I would just write it in low as get. I will get of 2 as a get of 3, right? So let's say these are my operations which we have to perform. Let's keep it over there. So initially my let's say we create an array, right? Let's take an example, an array. We get a call for add of 1, so add 1 to my stream, right? Then we get a call for add of 2. Just let me rewrite it over as here as like this. Then I got a call for add of 2, then I would just add 2 element. Then I got a call for add of 3 element, then I would get my stream as 1 comma 2 comma 3. Then I got a call for add 1 comma 2 add 4, right? So that would be 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma and 4, right? Now I got a call for add get 2. So get 2 means last 2 elements. Which are my last 2 elements? You would notice these are my last 2 elements. So what's their product? Their product is equal to, their product is 4 digit, it's 12, right? That's 12. And when we got call for get 3, so what's the last 3 products? I would say the last 3 elements are 2, 3 and 4, right? So what's their product? I would say that their product is 2 into 3 into 4. So what's that equal to? That's equal to 24. So that case, 24 would be my answer, right? We have got the we have how to we know what we have to do, right? Let's see how we can do this algorithmically, right? How we can do this, how we can achieve this process by programming, right? So I suggest a brute force method, right? So let's go with the first method, which is basically simulation, or I should say it as brute force, right? Why I'm saying brute force in simulation? Because we will just do what's been given in the question. What's been given in the question, we will create maintain and stream, right? Then for add method, append element in append element at end of stream, right? And for get method, we will iterate last k elements of stream and return their product, right? That's easy enough. Not talking about the complexity, we don't get any complexity for creating a stream. For append element at the end of a stream, we know that for whatever programming language you are using, we know that the append element for any array is obviously big O of, actually just change the color, that's always big O of 1, right? This operation takes big O of 1 time. And for the next and for the get method, if my element contains, we obviously need to iterate over the k element, so that is an O of k operation, right? So let's do that by code, and we can see that overall complexity of our program becomes O of k, right? So overall program complexity is become O of k. So let's implement this. what we will do is I will maintain a stream, right? So I will create a list of integer. Why list of integer and not going with the standard array? Because our array is dynamic, right? We get a call for add and we have to append that element to the our stream, right? So I will maintain a stream. A constructor will initialize with this stream with new array list. I would go for an array list implementation of list, right? No problem. Now I say for add operation, I would say stream dot add num. I just simply add that number into the end. And for the get product element, I would say my answer is 1, right? And I would say for int I equal to stream dot size, right? I need to iterate from the last element till some value, right? And over and I minus minus, right? So what would be that some value I'm asking? So for an array, right? Just let me draw this. Let me notice for an array which contains total of n elements, and we need to find product of its last k elements, right? Last k elements, right? Last k element. So for a zero based indexing, you can notice that my first index would be 0 and my last index would be n minus 1, right? So my last n minus, so last k elements would be my last k elements would be, if you notice by index wise, those would be n minus 1, then n minus 2, then n minus 3, then n minus 4, right? Up to n minus k element, right? You can see this is the first element, this is second last element, this is third last element, this is fourth last, and this is kth last element, right? So I would iterate over n minus k, and I don't need to worry about this n minus k going out of index, because you can see it is mentioned that you can assume that always the current list has at least k numbers, right? So I don't need to also worry for this index out of bound error, right? Now I would say answer equal to answer into stream dot get element at index I, and then I would return this variable as my answer, right? Let's do a code review. We have created a stream. We initialize the stream as an array list. Then for any number integer, we add this integer to the stream. Then we initialize our product with the one. We get the product of last k elements and return that answer. I see no error. Let's test this code. First we run it. Okay, so we have got a compiler error. Oh, obviously we have declared n, and n is not the right. We have the stream dot size, right? Stream dot size. Actually, just let's declare it as an extra variable, which is stream dot size. So that's right. So my last element would be n minus 1, and I have to iterate over n minus k, right? Let's run this code. Yeah, it's run. Let's submit this code. And you can see this question got submit pretty easily. But right, so have we done this question? No, we haven't done this question. If you scroll down a little bit, you would see that this question mentioned a follow-up. That's the interesting part of today's question. And the follow-up says, can you implement both get product and add to work in of1 time? Okay, so we have already maintained a solution in which add is working for of1, but we need a solution where get function also works in of1 time. That's interesting. Let's see how we can do, right? So we have to implement add function in of1 time, and we have to implement get function also in of1 time, right? So let's see how we can get product of last k elements in of1. If you are not familiar with data structure, I would say get familiarized with prefix sum and then come to this video, right? So I'm gonna use a prefix sum array, right? Why a prefix sum array? Because prefix sum allows us to because prefix sum array is gonna allow us to get this get product function to work in of1 time. How of one time? Let's say I have a stream of n integers, right? I have a stream of n integers, and their product would be, let's say the first element is a1, then it would be multiplied by a2, then it would be multiplied by a3, then it would be multiplied by a4, and so on tail multiplied by a of n minus 1, then it will be multiplied by a of n, right? No problem with that. Now let's say, right, their product would be this, right? Let's say this is p of n. Just a minute, this is p of n, right? Product of last n elements, right? Okay, now say we need to find the solution for the last k elements, right? We need to find the product of the last k elements of this array. Then notice how selection of this k elements divide the subarray in two subparts, right? These are n minus k element and one part is k elements, right? So if we have a prefix array, right, built from left to right, actually prefix array is built from left to right. If it was right to left, it would have called the suffix array, right? So we can get the product of n minus k element as, I would say my product of n minus k elements would be a1 into a2 into a3 into a4 into up to a of n minus k minus 1 into a of n minus k minus 2 into a of n minus k minus 1, right? Why n minus k minus 1? Consider if this is a one based indexing. Note, just a minute, right? Consider it's a one based indexing, then the first element would be 1 and the last element would be n. Then in that case my last n minus kth element would be last kth element would be n minus kth element, right? So we need to find the product of previous n minus k minus 1 element. So that's why the last term is n minus k minus 1, right? Okay, so now continuing, we can get the product of these last k elements, right? Let me just write that the product of last k elements, just let me move it a little, right? The product of last k elements would be equal to product of all the elements divided by product of n minus k elements, right? No problem with that. Also, since we know we are right, no problem with that, that's gonna work, right? But there's one more catch in the solution. When you come down to constraint, you will notice that there is a 0 given in this array, right? That num can be the 0. Now how is the 0 gonna affect? Let's start by taking an example, right? Let's start by taking an example. Before that, let's delete all those stuff, right? I will just save this one and I will delete all these stuff, right? I will delete, just a minute, I will delete all this stuff, right? So we have got this formula as I have explained before. Now let's do a simulation for normal where 0 is not given, right? So let's take the color as white, right? So let's again take that example which I take in the simulation process. We get a call for add of 1, then we get a call for add of 2, then we get a call for add of 3, then we get a call for add of 4, then we get a call for get of 2, then we get a call for get of 3, right? A simple example which I took earlier as well, right? Now let's see how my prefix array is gonna work, right? This is my prefix array, right? Prefix product array actually, because I'm mentioning prefix array, right? Yes, prefix array, right? Prefix product array actually, right? This is my prefix product array. So initially this array would be empty, then I got a 1, right? So that's, we will add a 1, then I got a 2. So what will be the product of 2 element? 1 into 2, then I get 1, 2 and 6, right? 3 multiplied by 2, that would be 6. Then I get 1, 2, 6 and 24. No problem with that. Now the question starts. It says get the product of last two elements, right? Last two elements. So what's the last two elements? These are last two elements. Now how to get product is now using this formula, right? Using this formula that I just derived earlier, I would say that the product of last two, right? Product of last two would be product of all the elements, that is product of 4 elements, right? Product of 4 elements divided by product of 4 minus 2, yani कि product of starting 2 elements, right? So that would come out to be 24 divided by 2, that is equal to 12, right? This is my answer. Similarly, if I go for quart of 3, then in that case my 3 values would be these 3 values, right? These 3 values. So in that case I would say, okay, my product of last 3 elements, last 3 elements would be product of all 4 elements divided by product of 4 minus 1, that is 4 minus 1 equal to 4 minus 3, sorry, 4 minus 3 equal to 1, and that is 4 product of last one element, product of one element, that would be 24 divided by n, and that would come out to be 24. So this would get I would get answer of get of 2 as 12 and get of 3 as 24. Easy enough, right? But why I was saying that this 0 is important and this solution would work for 0, let's understand that, right? Let's understand what's the problem, right? Now instead of 2, let's say we get a 0 over here. Actually not at this location, let's say we got a 0 at this location, right? Let's create a prefix product array once again. Okay, so we will get up add 1, okay, no problem. Then we get a add 0, then in that case our product becomes 0. Then we say get add 3, then again our product still remains 0. Then we get add 4, again our product still remains 0. Right, now comes the query for the get2, right? Now comes the query for the get2. So according to get2, actually just write down the original array as well. What was our original array? So it would be 1 0 3 and 4, right? If we had followed these add operations by now, this would be our array, right? So if we apply for the get2, we would get the result, we should get the result of 3 multiplied by 4. But if we go for the prefix product array and according to this formula, we can see we will get 0 divided by 0, right? I would say product of last 2, product of last 2 equal to product of all 4 divided by product of 4 minus 2, that would be equal to 2. So I can just write down as 2. So that would come out to be 0 divided by 0. Now you can see most of the compilers won't process the 0 out of 0 and would say it's an arithmetic exception, right? So now comes the issue, how I'm going to manage this, right? So that's why I was saying that this 0 is an issue to us and we should resolve this 0 issue. Now how we can resolve this 0 issue? Now notice that if we apply operation for the last 2 elements, we should have gotten 4, right? We should have got 12 as the answer, and when we do operation for the get of 3, right, we should get the result for these 3 elements. In that case we can see that the 0 was there, right? 0 was there. That means if we even got a query, say further in the future, which say get 4, right, we know since 0 was there at the index, it doesn't mean if we take any index further, right? So basically what I'm trying to say I'm trying to say that the index at which we get the 0, right, the index at which we get the 0, if there's a query right, if there's a query which exceeds that index, right, which exceeds that index and go beyond, we know that query's result is gonna be 0. Why? Because we have got a 0 in between that query, and product of all those elements would get converted to 0, right? So how we can resolve, how we can utilize this property, right? How we can utilize this property? We can utilize this property as that whenever we get a 0, right, whenever I will just write it down, whenever we get a 0, just reset the prefix array. What do I mean by reset the prefix array? And apart from this, I will also prefix array and also maintain a size variable. Total size variable for total elements added till now. Just let's do this, right? Why I'm saying this? Now let's see again that let's again take that example I just deleted. Okay, let's say we get a call for add of 1, right? Then we get a call for add of 2, let's take 0, right? Then we get a call for add of 3, then we get a call for add of 4, right? Then we get a call for get of 2, then we get a call for get of 3. Now let's see how this prefix array is gonna work, right? Prefix array, right? I just prefix product array, right? So initially that array would be empty. Now we get a add 1, so my prefix array would look like this. Now it says add 0. Add 0. So what we are going to do? We are going to do, whenever we get it, just reset the prefix array, reset the whole prefix array to empty. Right? Now we get a 3. I would say, okay, just add the 3 element. I would say, okay, it says 4. I would just add the 4 element, right? Now, I got a query for get of 2. Actually, the get of 4 would be multiply this, since we are maintaining product array. So 4 3s are, that's 12, right? Okay, no problem. Now we get a query for get of 2. So what's get of 2? Get of 2 would be, just a minute. Get of 2 would be product of these last two elements, right? Product of last two elements. So basically, we would get 12 divided by last, just a minute. So that would be a product of last two elements would be product of all four, right? Product of all four divided by product of actually that would be all, right? Product of all divided by product of last product of 4 minus 2, that would be equal to 2. But notice, since we are using this formula again, however our concept, so we also need to update this formula as well, right? So how we can update this formula? I say we take, I would say, okay, I would say product of all four, right? All, so that would be available at the last index of the prefix array, right? So prefix, a product of last, just a minute, last product of last, I've got a called product of last two would be product of last element, so that would be 12 divided by the last index, right? So that would be 1. So I will get answer as, I would get answer as 1. Actually I would just maintain another variable 1, so that I can easily calculate this, right? And this shape moves here, right? Now you can understand what I was trying to say, right? How I got this 12 divided by 1. Now notice, if we get a query for size which currently exceeds the number of element in the array, then we know that we might have reset the array, right? So I just round, if k is greater than equal to size, why equal to, because we have added extra 1 for a simplicity of this formula, right? If k is greater than equal to size of current prefix product array, then that's over, right? Then that means we must have reset the array before. That means we have 0 in that part, which means result is 0, right? Pretty easy. Let's code this solution. Let's see how we code the solution and this works, right? So I will maintain a array prefix product, right? Just I will initialize this as array list in the constructor. Then I would say, right, if I would say, actually I also need to add a 1, if you notice, right? Prefix, I actually have copied this variable dot add 1, right? I'm adding this extra 1 for the simplicity of this formula, right? Okay, now for the add num, if num is 0, I would say reinitialize the process, right? Reinitialize the prefix array. I would reinitialize the array, no problem with that, right? And I would say else, if my num is not equal to 0, then in that case prefix product, and just copy this variable name, prefix product dot add. What do we need to add, right? We need to add the last element, right? The get last element. What would be the last element? Prefix product dot size minus 1 would be the last element, multiplied by current number, right? Multiplied by current number, no problem with that, right? Now we have added that number into the stream. Now let's see how we will get the product. I initialize the product as 1, right? I would say if right? If my current stream size, right, I've mentioned this here, if k is greater than equal to the size of current size, right? So if k is greater than equal to current stream size, then in that case return 0, right? And now coming to the answer part, if that's not the case, then just return, what do we need to return? Return prefix product, return prefix product dot get last element would be n minus 1 divided by prefix product of n minus k element, right? No problem. Prefix product dot get n minus k, actually just a simple mistake, right? Let's do a code review. If we have done everything right, we know what's the n variable, we know what's n minus k. Okay, no problem over here, no problem here. Let's run this code, right? Okay, it says stream dots. Okay, so I just forgot to change the variable name. Just change prefix product. It says wrong answer. Why does it say wrong answer? Let's just see. The issue was over here. I should have mentioned n minus k minus 1 element, right? So I've just I've also explained that earlier, right? So that's basically if I have n elements, right? If I have n elements, I want to get the product of k elements, and right, and if we have a 0 based indexing, so that would be n minus 1th element, and I need to divide by the last n minus k minus 1th element, right? So that's basically was the issue. I've resolved it, and let's submit this code. And here we got the accepted. Hope you like this video. I hope you got the solution. In case you have any issue, just drop them in the comment, and like, share, subscribe guys. Goodbye.